Boing! My had been sticking out the whole time.
Oh.
That's why everybody was looking at me with a shocked look on their face. I almost passed out because I'm at $250 for the whole thing. What? You don't deserve $1,000 paycheck for an afternoon. You're not a real professional speaker. I said, put your thong behind your tit. And then everybody started laughing. I didn't even know what I had said wrong. So then the personal assistant writes it down. Tired, stressed out, getting weight, got this. Okay, tired. What can I do for this? Oh, I know. I'm going to keep her awake all night. She's not going to be able to sleep, right? That's 18 women that will buy one of my coaching package. And so that's $18,000. Did I speak for free? No, we're all in a library reading book. And there are some books that I've read that you haven't read. And then there's some books that you've read before me, and you can give me a bit of a recap or the Reader's Digest. But everybody's just at the same level. We're just, sometimes I haven't read that book yet, so help me with it. And then if you haven't read a book, I'll help you with it. I'm a small town girl. I could have said, oh, I'm not going to apply to this because, I'm not the best one in North America. Well, guess what? I put my hand up. I applied. I filled out the form.
Hello, y'all. I am fortunate enough to be here today with Nathalie. And Nathalie, who the heck are you and what are you doing here today on Speaking to Expand?
I love that. Who the heck are you? Well, I'm a confidence expert, a small town girl from the East Coast of Canada, speaking French. And then I had to quickly learn to speak English when I moved to a English part of Canada. Now I'm on the West Coast and south of Vancouver in British Columbia. And I had this voice in my head telling me, what? You want to be a professional speaker like in English? You don't even speak English. You want to write books in English? It's never going to work. You're not good enough. Right? So yeah, I had kind of the cards against me and the voice in my head against me. So I had to quickly figure out how to change that story in my head. And I started studying neuroscience, trying to figure out a system to change the way we talk to ourselves, because we trash talk ourselves all the time. It's not right. So that's what I specialize in, the voice inside our head, transforming. And really, it's neuroscience. It's how the brain works, how people use it wrong, and what to do to make it work for you.
Awesome. And how did you kind of initially, if we look at your path as kind of a story, how did you initially get started?
So it's a funny story. When I moved to Toronto, big city, I was working at a gym. So I've been teaching fitness for 37 years on the side as I'm building my career. And I started working at a gym in Toronto. I don't know if you've been in a situation where you were new, you don't know anybody, everybody else is so much better than you are, and you're not confident. So anyway, the gym was introducing a new dance program. Nobody knew that, but I have a dance background. So I put my hand up to be part of the demo team. So picture yourself, you're on stage, you're in front of 150 instructors that are so much better than you are. You're super intimidated, but you're giving it. And you have it because you can see all the face turning towards you with a shocked look on their face because they didn't know you were that great at dancing. So I don't know what it would do for you, but for me, it changed my whole life. I started strutting around in the gym as if I owned it. I was showing so much confidence. My classes became packed. And instead of begging my boss to not remove my classes from the schedule because there was only 2 people in it, I became fitness instructor of the year for Canada less than a year later. But listen to this. That's not where the story ends. Not at all. A few months later, somebody corners me in the change room and says, Nathalie, I really have to tell you, we really started respecting you after what happened to you on that day. You were showing so much confidence and it's like it did not bother you at all. And then I'm like, what is she talking about? Well, Ryan, it turns out that I had a wardrobe malfunction on that day. Boing! My had been sticking out the whole time. That's why everybody was looking at me with a shocked look on their face, but not for the reason that I thought. And of course, when she told me, I wanted to disappear, but it was too late. I was already the queen of the gym. So I realized I was responding to a different story in my head. And I thought, what matters is the story we tell in our head. So I started to really get interested in neuroscience, thinking, oh, wait a minute. Okay, what if I can create a system to reprogram our brain to tell us the stories we need to hear that will move us forward instead of holding us back. Because can you imagine the most embarrassing moment of my life could have been devastating. I would have moved back to my small town potentially. And instead, it had a very big impact the other way around. So I realized that's when I started really to study neuroscience, started to look into quantum physics, into everything brain related. And that's the system I shared. And I've written 18 books on the topic, created 22 online courses. And that's the system I use with my coaching client one-on-one. And that's the system that I share on stages around the world as a certified speaking professional.
And how, first of all, awesome story. And then from there, you being in Toronto and after you kind of having that moment and becoming one of the top fitness professionals in all of Canada, that took you about like two years or 1 year?
Yeah, about a year later that it happened. Yeah.
Wow. And then after that, what was your next step? Because obviously you're doing something that is miles ahead of that today. You're everywhere, right? So what was the next step in your story there?
Well, then I realized that in the fitness industry, there's two big things that people do to get healthier is they try to eat better and they exercise, right? So those are the main two things. And I realized observing my client, because I was also a nutrition and wellness specialist, my first few books are on nutrition. And I realized that my clients that were successful, it's not because I was giving them a better kale salad recipe or showing them a better way to squat. It was because they were changing their mindset. So everything was connected. So I started giving conferences in the gyms. My first number one bestseller was Think Yourself Thin. And I started giving the conference Think Yourself Thin. And I thought, a lot of people would buy my book and say, I don't want to lose weight, but this system is so amazing. I can use it in any other areas of my life. I've been using it for my job. I've been using it with my relationship with my husband or my boyfriend. So I realized that the brand, the Think Yourself Academy had started. Then I created Think Yourself Successful, Think Yourself Confident, which became the number one signature product. And I wanted to get on more stages. So I needed to create a video reel. I don't know if you know, as a speaker, ideally you show a little video of yourself on a stage. So I was brand new. I hired a cameraman. We had 3 cameras, one for the close up, one for, the wide shot, and one behind me to see the large audience. But Ryan, there was only 20 people in the room. There was not a large audience. So we kept asking people to move from one section to another. So then when we would put the segments together, it would look like there was a large audience. And it worked. This video got me a speaking engagement. So my first phone call, I got a call from an organization, we're talking almost 20 years ago. They asked for my rate. Brian, I didn't have a corporate rate. So I go, 250? I didn't know what to say. So they say, okay, so for the 4-hour training, there would be 1,000. I almost passed out because I'm at 250 for the whole thing. So I go, yes, that's correct, $1,000. And then I hang up the phone, and instead of being excited because I got the contract, I felt like a fraud. I felt like an imposter because I was hearing the voice. What? You don't deserve $1,000 paycheck for an afternoon. You're not a real professional speaker. You want to speak in English? Your English is so bad. And it's true. My English was really bad. Oh my God. When I started, I remember doing a yoga class I was teaching. At the end of a yoga class, you have all your participants laying down, and I wanted them to relax their body, relax their face. And for them to relax their jaw, I wanted them to put their tongue on the roof of their mouth. But instead of saying, put your tongue behind your teeth, I said, put your thong behind your teeth. And everybody started laughing. I didn't even know what I had said wrong. Anyway, my English was really bad. So the voice in my head was telling me, yeah, the voice was kind of right. It was really not good. But then, see, the video I had done to make the audience look bigger than it really was, and my made up corporate rate, none of it was real. I was just trying to look more than I really was because I thought that just me was not enough. So I really had to work on my own limiting beliefs, transform them. I had to drink my own Kool-Aid, and now I charge $10,000 for my 1-hour keynote. So obviously the limiting beliefs are gone. And I have a program called Think Yourself Wealthy to help people navigate the limiting belief about money, because that's one thing that was holding me back, definitely. Yeah.
And after you stepped off stage that first gig, did the imposter syndrome go away like that? Or was there kind of a delay before you kind of realized who you were? You got your own value, I guess.
Yeah. So the beauty of the brain is that there's a process to get used to a certain level, if you'd like. So there's 4 stages of learning. At the beginning, we're we're not good at something and we don't even know we're not good at it. So we're unconsciously incompetent. So you're not good at something, you don't know you're not good at it. And then you move quickly into conscious incompetence. So you're still not good at it, but now you know that you're not good at it. So at the beginning, obviously, it's not as sharp, it's not as eloquent, you're not that great. And then progressively, you will move into the conscious competence. So really have to go to bed really early the day before, practice forever, really get organized, script the whole thing, read, memorize, record my speech, listen to it back, which are all techniques that are valid and that I still do for some sections of my keynotes, because I don't have a cookie cutter approach. I spoke to the Marines. I'm not going to tell them the same thing that when I speak at RBC for Finance Professional, or when I speak to Kentucky Fried Chicken owners of stores, you know what I mean? Like, or of restaurants. Like, so I really get into the world of the audience, and it's customized. So it's not like I've given this keynote yesterday, I'm just going to say it again today for a different audience. So the custom sections, and I have many of them throughout my conferences, I still practice those. I still record myself. I still listen to them. But very soon you move into unconscious competence. Well, the research shows that it takes, I'm not going to say what numbers it. I'm going to ask you, because a lot of people have heard of how many days does it take to create a new habit. What number are you going to tell me?
To create a new habit, or for habit,
to become good at something. What have you heard?
So I've heard two different things. One was from a past mentor of mine, Rob Dial. He said 10,000 hours, but then I heard someone else a few months back say 10,000 iterations, which are two different ways to say that similar kind of thing.
Perfect. And I'm glad you're saying that, because it's more likely. The common myth in the world is 22 days. So a lot of people think that it takes 22 days. It was an old study in 1980s where they had studied a plastic surgeon. And when you would get a new nose, it would take you 22 days in average to get used to your new face, right? But we're not talking about implementing a new habit and getting good at something. So research shows that it's much longer than that. 10,000 hours potentially to master something, but to become competent and create a new habit. Let's say you want to start eating better, or you want to stop procrastinating, or create a better habit of not looking at your phone first thing in the morning, and do you first, and not answer emails or texts from other people that want stuff from you, or learning how to say no. There's lots of good habits that we want to implement in our lives. So these would take more like a 66 to 250 days.
Wow.
And if it doesn't happen every day, and if you do that like once a week, that task or that new computer system you're using at work, you have to continue until you become unconsciously competent. See, everything is about living at an unconscious level. So we have a logical brain and we have the unconscious mind. So living at a logical level, it's kind of cool. The logical mind can multitask. So you can do 5 to 9 things at once. So that's pretty cool. You can do many things. You can go grocery shopping while you're on the phone, and you grab a can of soup on special with one hand, and then you hold your phone with the other hand, and then you can see the guy in the corner that's checking out the girl in blue in the seafood department. You can do that all at the same time. But have you ever noticed, Ryan, let's say you're driving to a new address and you're looking for the numbers on the houses. Let's say it's a beautiful day, music is on, windows are down. And as you get closer to that new address, you'll slow down and you'll start looking at the numbers. Have you ever caught yourself having to lower the volume on the radio? Yeah, it's bizarre. Because how will the volume make you see better, right? So it's because when you have the foot on the brake, the foot on the accelerator, the red light ahead, the kid that's about to cross the street, the lady that might cut you off, and then there's the dude in the car next to you winking at you, gross. When you add looking at the numbers in the houses, the music becomes the one too many. 5 to 9 pieces of information get overwhelmed very quickly. And soon you have to grab for the one thing you can control, and that's the music, right? So living at a logical level is always trying to catch up because you're behind schedule. So you're an entrepreneur, let's say, and you're like, okay, I want to build my business. You have your goal, like you're moving towards your goal. You really want to do a good thing. So you get up super early. Oh, you get up at 5 a.m., you do a meditation, and then you do your affirmations, you prepare your lunch because you want to eat healthy, and then you're accepting clients like from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. And yet you still have to potentially, if your audience have kids, you have to take them to school and sport in between your meetings. And then you get home at night, you're exhausted because you had to, of course, you need a podcast, you need to be on social media. And then you also need to use AI and learn the new technology that just came out. And so at the end of the day, you're exhausted and you had decided to get back in shape, but you haven't used your gym membership in 3 months because after all this, Netflix with a bottle of wine sounds a lot more appealing. So it's like you're getting farther and farther away from your dream life. It is like you're trying to go to New York City, but you're in an aircraft that's flying all the way to Los Angeles. You can work as hard as you possibly can, but you're never going to get there if you stay in the aircraft. So a lot of people ask me, so how do we leave the aircraft? Well, you can't get off the aircraft because it's an analogy. I'm talking about the brain. We're not going to remove our brain. Like that's the one you got. So it's better you keep it, right? Yeah. So it's better that you stay in the aircraft and you talk to the pilot and you say, hey, bud, mind turning around? That's where I want to go. Like imagine how much faster it's going to go when the pilot is on board. So that pilot is the unconscious mind. That's the other part of the brain that's really powerful. The unconscious mind can handle 2.3 million pieces of information every second. Wow. So logical mind was 5 to 9. Unconscious mind is 2.3 million pieces of information every second. That's where the power is. So that pilot, I call it your personal assistant, right? So pretend that you have in your head a little personal assistant with a notepad, writing down everything that you say or think and makes it happen, right? So your personal assistant is there. But the problem is people wake up in the morning, Ryan, they look at themselves in the mirror and they go, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm so stressed out. I think I'm gaining weight. So then the personal assistant writes it down. Tired, stressed out, gaining weight. Got this. Okay, tired. What can I do for this? Oh, I know. I'm going to keep her awake all night. She's not going to be able to sleep. She's going to be really tired in the morning. Check. Stressed out. Oh, I'm going to make her delete a very important appointment in her calendar. That's going to be stressful. Check. Gaining weight. Oh, that's easy. I can find a chocolate bar or something deep fried for him to eat today. Check. Well, your personal assistant is always listening and make sure that everything you say or think happens. So let's say you had decided that you wanted to potentially go back to the gym and get in shape or whatever it is. And a lot of people have gained weight during the pandemic or anyway, they have limiting beliefs that when they lose weight, they always get it back. Or they keep saying, oh, I'm so weak. Oh, I hate it. I hate exercise. Oh my gosh, it's awful. So people that have these kind of limiting beliefs, if they start exercising, they will start feeling stronger because that's what you do. You start eating better, you start feeling amazing. And then your personal assistant goes in panic mode because it says, oh my gosh, I'm not following my list here. What should I do? She said she wanted to hate it. And now she starts liking it. And she wanted to be overweight. Now she's getting strong. And oh my gosh, what can I do? Oh, I'm going to make her fall on the sidewalk. She's going to hurt herself and she's not going to be able to go to the gym anymore. Check. Whew, I've done my job. Right. So we really have to be careful, tell our personal assistant what we want and not what we don't want, right? Like a lot of my clients tell me what they don't want. They come to me and they say, oh, Nathalie, I need you to help me. I don't want to be stressed anymore. I don't want to be impatient with my kids. I don't want to be rushing everywhere and I don't want to be broke. So then the personal assistant writes it down. Stressed, rush, impatient, broke. Got it. So it's like asking a contractor to paint your kitchen not blue. Well, what? Not blue? Like, what color do you want it? So we have to really think about what we want and not what we don't want. So the perfect question is, what would you like instead? So when something happens, ask yourself, what would you like instead? Like, how can you chunk it up, like turn this around and look for what is it that you're learning from this situation and how is that serving you, right? I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And what I'm really curious about is at what point through your speaking career did you really hone in on this message? Because now I can tell you've got this down, you know it like the palm of your hand. At what point did it really become, you found your voice, you have this certainty of this is Nathalie's message, this is what she's known for? When did that happen?
I have to say that my message was very different than what I thought it would be. And it takes a long time. So your crowd will tell you. So make sure that whenever you speak, you have a way to collect info after. So always have a survey. I still bring sometimes, I have a system on a Gravity form on my website. People scan the QR code and then there's 6-question feedback. But I also bring paper copies because there's still a lot of people that just want to fill out the paper survey, and it's totally fine. But make sure you have a way, whether it's digital or old fashioned, to receive feedback from people and ask them what they remember. Because this personal assistant is the number one thing that everybody remembers. But that's not what I thought my keynote, because a keynote is one keynote. It's one thing. So what's the one thing that you will have? What is your one message to understand so that everybody remembers and will apply that right away in their life? So everybody would come to me and say, oh my gosh, Nathalie, the personal assistant. And with to the question, so what part do you remember from Nathalie's keynote? Everybody, like out of 100 people, there was 80 that would say the personal assistant. So I did not know that. So let your audience tell you what is the impact that you're making, and then focus on that story and make sure that, because I do some full day trainings. I do 4 hours, I do 90 minutes, and I do a 15 minutes keynote. So what you want to have in your, it's like you have Lego blocks, right? And then there's the story with, I have a story with the delivery trucks. I have a story with the personal assistant. I have a story with the story that I told in the beginning. I have a 2-step technique that I use that I haven't shared with you yet, but I'm thinking it would be great to share that with your audience. It's a cool tool. So you have all your segments, all your stories, and in a 90 minutes keynote, I can put a lot of them. And then whenever you have a 30 minutes, which block do you remove? When you have a 15 minutes, which block do you keep? So the personal assistant is a must, because I know not to remove this section ever, because that's my number one thing that everybody remembers. That's the most permanent transformation that happens in people's mind when they hear me speak. So you need to make sure that your core keynote stays there all the time, and you can have many different ways. I've done it in 2 minutes. Sometimes you go to an event and then you get 2 minutes to stand up and say who you are. I have a personal assistant story in 2 minutes, right? That I broke it down. So it's an art to organize your speeches in a way that they're just building blocks, and then you know what to remove, what to put in. And then in between these key elements, I have my customized. So the customization, so I have 4 or 5 blocks within my keynote that are specific to who I am talking to. So depending if they are 55 or plus years old men, or a whole bunch of young women, or who's in the audience, what's their reality? Are they accountants? Are they lawyers? Are they dentists? What, right? So it will be different. So I will bring the reality. So if you build your material so that you can really master some cool segments and you know which ones are non-negotiable, then you can re-audition each part depending on the length that you will have. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And for you now, you're a speaker, you're a business owner, you kind of mentioned that story where, it's a pretty standard entrepreneur story. You're doing 90 things at the same time. How do you make the decision when a speaking gig would still be worth your time or not, as a business owner who speaks for their business as well? How do you go about those decisions?
So for a long time, because there's many different ways of speaking. You can get stuck in an elevator one day, and then the next day you're a speaker because you're telling that story on stage, and it's a cool story. That doesn't mean you have a speaking business, because speaking is not the business. Getting booked and paid is the business, right? we know that. So for the longest time, I remember when I was beginning, I was not paid. I was not paid to speak, but I was very, very religiously taking notes of all my numbers because I'm a nerd, and I was tracking everything. So I would always have a contest, always have, let's say I hand out 100 coupons to win a book or something. I would track my numbers. 92% of people would fill out the contest. So 8 people in the room didn't even want to win what I had, right? And it's fine. Those are my numbers. Like you just got to track. On an average, 70% of people on the coupon, it says, did you want to sign up for Nathalie's newsletter? Do you want to have a virtual coffee with Nathalie? Blah, blah. So you offer them a few things and you can do that. I do that digitally now, but back then it was a paper coupon that I was handing to get all these stats going. And then eventually I realized that my average was 76% of people wanted to hear back from me and get my weekly cool tips that I would send out. So they'd sign up for my newsletter. 42% would say yes to a virtual coffee. But then I would send them the link to book in my calendar, and only 20% would actually book it, right? They said they wanted, but for 22, it was actually 42% down to 20. So 22% of them, I would never hear back from them. Did I feel bad and sorry for myself? No, it's just, those are my stats. You got to be proud of your stats. And out of these 20 people, I would convert between 6 and 13%, depending if I was speaking online or in person, into purchasing one of my online courses or my coaching services, or referring me to somebody that would hire me to speak. So it would convert. Now, knowing your numbers is the key, because I realized that I did not need to get paid in order to make money. I could accept to go speak at the Calgary Women's Show, but then I would say, okay, I'm not going to charge you. I will actually pay for my whole flight, my hotel, but I want to be right after the firemen's fashion show, right? Because there will be 300 women there, and 300 women, if we break it down to my 6%, right? That's 18 women that will buy one of my coaching package. Back in the days was about $1,000. So that's $18,000. Did I speak for free? No, because I qualified the audience. I knew there would be 300 women there right after the fireman's fashion show. And then I would do the Think Yourself Healthy or the Think Yourself Confident keynote, or a program that suits well for this audience. And I knew that I would convert 6%. So understanding, to answer your question, where do you decide that you speak to? I have to say that was a bit of a long time ago. Now I don't speak for free anymore. I do get paid. And the way that I decide is I choose where I will have the bigger impact. And sometimes a room full of entrepreneurs that each have their own company that can potentially hire me after is a better potential than the company that I talk to the staff that they have to be there. Mm-hmm. They haven't chosen to sit in this audience. They're kind of forced. So if I am way too busy and I have to choose, that's how I would select the
Gotcha.
audience, really. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Coming from a place of abundance, do you, or have you ever worked with any speakers bureaus, or are you just referrals and warm inbound now, or a mix of both?
Mix of both. Yeah. So I do have a few speaking bureaus that I work with. And then I also have my own team as well. And we do a lot of prospection. I'm also a member of CAPS, the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. I'm on the national board. You have the National Speaker Association in the States. And recently, I've also obtained my designation, the CSP, the Certified Speaking Professional. There's only 62 in Canada. 62 speakers that are certified. 7 only speak French. So I've got the certification is a very rigorous process to go through, but I do recommend to any speaker to start tracking down, because what it really requires is at least 250 speaking engagements. So start tracking, even if you're at 3, 4, and then you remember to write down who you spoke to, how much money you made, what was the title of your session, because you can go back 10 years, right? So start your spreadsheet right now. And as every time you speak, and you can record also the amount of money that you made right after in the back of the room. So let's say you were not paid to speak there, but you sold for $250 worth of books or something, or you sold a coaching certification for $1,000. So that will count in your spreadsheet to obtain your certification. So I wish I had started my spreadsheet earlier because it's a lot of work to try to remember. Go back 10 years.
Yeah, that's really good to know. And let's say I'm a listener here and I've been listening to you share this knowledge and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I wish you could give me a coupon and I could book a call with her or I could follow her somewhere. Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, so thankyouself.com. And if they want to book a free virtual coffee, 15 minutes, so it's thankyouself.com/schedule. Yeah.
Awesome. And last question here. What advice from your years of knowledge and experience as a business owner, as a speaker, whether it be through neuroscience or anything you've learned that you think is most relevant advice for the aspiring speaker, the professional speaker, or the business owner who speaks as a function of their business?
Don't listen to the voice in your head, retrain it, because at the end of the day, I hear so many times people feeling like an imposter, or professional speakers that have been doing this for a long time that are about to present to their peers at the National Speaker Association convention or the CAPS convention. So when you present to other speakers, that's when you start feeling like an imposter and who I am, right? Who am I to present to? So let's remember that the analogy I like to give is we're all in a library reading books. And there are some books that I've read that you haven't read. And then there's some books that you've read before me, and you can give me a bit of a recap or the Reader's Digest. But everybody's just at the same level. Sometimes I haven't read that book yet, so help me with it. And then if you haven't read a book, I'll help you with it. So there's no need to be intimidated by an audience. There's always somebody that has not read that book. So you can fast track them, because some people said, even for writing a book, and they say, well, why am I going to write a book on confidence? Like there's thousands and thousands. Like, am I better than Tony Robbins? I mean, really? Right? Like, why would I write a book on this? But because you're always talking to somebody that has not heard this topic the way you're going to say it. And people are interested in not just interested, but they must hear something many, many, many times before they can actually act on it and implement something. There's no put your hand up and apply. I just recently, in 2023, I got the Corporate Coaching and Recruitment Award for the #1 most empowering confidence coach in North America. And what's the first thing my husband said? He said, "What? In North America? Well, you're not better than Oprah." Like, and then I said, well, I guess she did not apply. I'm a small town girl. I could have said, oh, I'm not going to apply to this because, I'm not the best one in North America. Well, guess what? I put my hand up. I applied. I filled out the form and I got it. Right. So step up. Apply, and you might get surprised with the talent that you have. So people will not discover you. You have to put your hand up. Yeah.
Boom. Fantastic knowledge there. Well, guys, if you're listening here and you have a friend or a fellow speaker that you think needs to hear this knowledge that Nathalie was fortunate enough to share with us today, go ahead and share this episode with them, or share any clips or shorts from this that you think were most relevant, that you think they would find valuable. And Nathalie, thank you for making this appearance. Cheers, y'all.
Thank you, Ryan.